And now...
What is this?
I know you're gonna dig this.
This is the Flatland Sports Podcast.
Where do you come from? Lubbock, Texas?
Lubbock, Texas.
A place called Lubbock.
I wonder if they think I'm so gorgeous back in Lubbock.
What do you care about Lubbock? You're big time now.
I'm just a little homesick, that's all.
Is that what you want, Larry, to spend the night in Lubbock, Texas at a day's end with a $15 voucher from Cinnabon?
Lubbock? No, it's near Lubbock.
What's it like there?
It's flat, real flat. You stand on a coffee can, you can see Colorado.
How are you doing from across the Great Plains of West Texas? This is the Flatland Sports Podcast, free and available worldwide, exclusively on YouTube, wherever you are, however you are. I hope you are doing well. If you're here right now, please do me a favor. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. It's free for you, and it helps me tremendously. There is real momentum for a 2014 playoff. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk a little bit of baseball. We'll recap the Texas Tech spring football game, and as always, we'll have the good, the bad, and the ugly. But first, this episode of the Flatland Sports Podcast is powered by Midwest Helmets, where owner Dallas Thompson is out turning football art into a full-on fan experience. If you've ever wanted a custom helmet of any team, any design, or a wild concept straight from your imagination, Dallas can make it happen. Want a classic double T like the one behind me? He'll do it. A Leech era bass boat glitter helmet, he'll do it. You need something for your fantasy football squad, he'll build that too. If you're a UNT fan and you're pining for the days of the old swastika helmet, he'll make that one too. Whatever you're dreaming up, Dallas will bring it to life with incredible attention to detail. These are one-of-a-kind helmets that will level up your office, man cave, studio, anywhere you rep your team. To order, just send Midwest Helmets a DM on their Facebook page or Instagram. The link will be in the description. And if you mention Flatland Sports in your message, you will score 10% off your custom football helmet. Midwest Helmets, custom, bold, and built to stand out. Welcome back. The conversation around college football just got a whole lot more interesting, and it's moving faster than people realize. Now, keep in mind, this is the same sport that took over 100 years to figure out a national championship game, and then 20 years after that just to get a 14 playoff. So speed is relative. So let's walk this thing back for a second. For years now, the sport has been stuck arguing with itself. 4 teams wasn't enough, and we all knew it. Too many teams left standing outside the door, so we moved to 12, and what happens? You get the same argument, just more chairs at the table. We didn't solve the problem, we just made it bigger and called it progress. Then in March, you get the White House Roundtable, where President Donald Trump brings in people who actually do move the needle. Cody Campbell, Nick Saban, Tim Tebow were invited. Conference leadership was there. And sure, NIL and portal were a big part of the conversation, but don't miss the real headline. The postseason was discussed and on the table too. Now, at the time, most of the reporting said, all right, 12 teams is probably sticking for a while. There's too many contracts, too many TV deals, too many people with financial interest in not rocking the boat. And college football historically doesn't do a quick change. It does we'll form a committee and we'll revisit this in 5 years. But now that tone is changing. This week, reporting from Ross Dellinger and others make it clear, there is real momentum behind going to 24 teams. You've got a 14-person presidential media committee that was formed out of that roundtable, including Cody Campbell, actively pushing for it. And it's not just noise. At least 3 of the 4 power conference commissioners who have the voting power to make this change, plus Notre Dame, are either open to it or already just actively leaning into it and pushing it. And the format they're kicking around is pretty clean. 24 teams, top 8 get a bye, no AQs, just straight seeding. First 2 rounds on campus, which, by the way, is exactly what the sport should have been doing 10 years ago. And then you shift into traditional bowl systems for the quarterfinals and the semifinals. Now, before anyone starts printing brackets, this thing is nowhere near done. Like I said, time is relative when we're talking college football. At the spring meeting this week, MAC Commissioner John Steinbrecher called it a good, robust conversation, which in college football language usually means we talked a lot and solved nothing. No consensus. 16 and 24 are both still alive, and they'll take it back up in June out in Denver because nothing says urgency like scheduling another meeting, which is college football's MO. College Football Playoff Executive Director Rich Clark echoed that the room is still open. We're still weighing both options. But then, of course, anytime you try to do anything good, you've got the SEC. Greg Sankey acknowledged that what's been bubbling under the surface, and there are coaches and ADs in the league who want 24. who've been very vocal at pushing for 24. Lane Kiffin, one of them. You see where this is going, but Sankey's still holding at 16, says it's the next right step. And look, that's probably a cautious business-minded approach. But then he brings up the First Amendment to describe internal disagreement. That tells you that this isn't exactly a unified front, not the one that we're used to from the SEC. And don't forget, earlier this year, the SEC and Big Ten looked like they were in complete lockstep. The model on the table was the 4x4x2x2 setup, the 4 automatic spots for the Big Ten and SEC, and 2 for the Big 12 and 2 for the ACC. And on paper, it looked clean. In reality, what it was going to do was squeeze the Big 12 and ACC out of the picture over time. And then Brett Yormark stepped in and threw a wrench into the whole thing. He proposes a straight model, 5 conference champions, 11 at-large bids, no multi-AQs per conference, and everyone called him crazy because they said, well, the Big 12 will never get more than 2 in a conference. What are you doing? But then suddenly things shifted because SEC coaches actually like that version better for 2 reasons. One, they weren't too fond of the idea of essentially playing a conference tournament just to qualify for the playoff. And 2, more at-large spots, that plays right into the SEC's hand for most years. Last year, they got 5 out of 12 spots, 4 of those being at-large. So just like that, the unity disappeared. Now you've got SEC coaches in one corner, Greg Sankey trying to manage in the middle, and the Big Ten pushing its own interests, which usually is how the sport operates. Everybody agrees right up until it actually matters. And when he and Tony Petitti get asked if they can figure this out by December 1st, the answer is, we'll see. That's not a plan. That's a shrug. Now, here's my take. I've been saying this for years. Stop trying to reinvent the wheel. The FCS has already figured this out. 24 teams, every conference champion gets in. So that's all 10 conference champions. It's clean and fair and actually settles things on the field, which last I checked was the whole point. This is intercollegiate athletic competition. This is sports between educational institutions. This isn't the NFL. And yes, there's a lot of NFL-like things. There's a lot of money being thrown around. There's lots at stake, but at its core, it should be relatively the same as high school football. And when we talk about 24 teams, I actually like 24 teams. I've been pushing that number for a while, even without the AQs, which I want all 10 conference champions to get into this playoff. That said, it's not going to happen. The group of 5 has already been squeezed out just enough. It would take a massive restructure to get them back in. So at this point, with 24 teams, the system becomes about as close to idiot-proof as you're going to get. And if you're sitting in that top 25 range, you're in. If you're not, you probably left way too much up for debate. You can't even make the top 25 AP poll or the top 25 college football playoff poll. Then what's the point? What are we doing? And more importantly, it makes it a lot harder for the committee to hide behind its own biases. You know, a few years ago, undefeated Florida State gets left out of a 4-team playoff. They could justify it. It was dumb. I disagreed with it. It was wrong, but they justified it. One-loss BYU gets squeezed out of a 12-team playoff. Should have been ranked number 6. They were ranked number 12 and got nudged out. It was wrong. I disagree with it, but they were able to justify it, and there's not a whole lot we can do to argue against it. And in every December, the criteria magically shifts depending on who they're trying to get in. At 24 teams, that game is a lot harder to play. There's no more hiding behind the eye test, or this year is different. You either earned it or you didn't. If you can't make the top 25, sorry about you. And the committee doesn't get to sit there and act like the smartest guys in the room while moving the goalposts. The best teams still rise. The best teams still get a chance, but now actually more teams get a shot. And that's not a bad thing. It's the sport finally catching up with itself. 25 teams is still under about 25% of the league, right at 20% of the league. Most postseasons are sitting right under, if you look at the NFL, the NBA playoffs, their postseason encapsulates almost 50% of the league. Now, 16 teams, that's fine. That's a reasonable compromise, but I'll say it again. At 16, conference championships have to matter. If you win your league, there should be a path. Otherwise, what are we even doing? And we talk about how much we don't want to ruin the regular season. We'll make the conference champion race matter. If the conference championship races in each individual conference matter, then the regular season can't be touched. Playing 12 weeks just to impress a committee is not the way to go. A 24-team straight-seeded playoff model isn't perfect, but it gets you close without overcomplicating it, which historically is something this sport struggles with. And zooming out for a second, the Big Ten looks ready to go bigger. The SEC publicly leaned into 16, but internally there's a lot of pressure building to go to 24. So yeah, the number still matters, but the direction, that's not really up for debate anymore. Expansion is back on the table. It's clear that expansion is going to happen, and now you've got influence coming from outside the sport pushing, including influence from the White House, which, whether people like it or not, tends to speed things up. The timeline is still unclear. I wouldn't expect this to get done by 2027, 2028. Maybe later. There's too many contracts, too many moving parts, too many people with opinions. But the fact that 24 is even being remotely discussed with real support, that is movement that I wasn't expecting to see right now. And if you're a program like Texas Tech, or really anybody in the Big 12 conference, you should want 24. That is opportunity. That is more access. That is more relevance. I believe this conference is better than what people give it credit for. And therefore, if you have a chance to get your foot in the door, then you have a chance to make some noise. And fewer seasons ending with, well, Oklahoma State was good, but we'll go with Alabama and LSU, who've already played each other in 2011. This thing's not settled, but it's moving. And college football might actually be moving in the right direction. When we come back, we'll talk about the Texas Tech spring game. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast, presented by Midwest Helmets. Welcome back. Texas Tech wrapped up spring practice Friday night at Jones AT&T Stadium, closing out camp under the lights with its annual spring game. Strong turnout in Lubbock, good energy throughout the night, and for a spring setting, it had a game-like feel. Now, to the game itself, the Red Raiders ran a controlled scrimmage format, both sides extending work across multiple situations. We'll start talking quarterback. A quarterback, Brendan Sorsby, showed steady command of the offense, operated cleanly, managed the tempo, took care of the football. Not a lot of unnecessary risks, and that's exactly what you want to see this time of year. Sorsby met with the media after the game. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, I would say, kind of piggybacking off what he just said at the end would be just obviously getting in the film room and, just trying to fine-tune some things, especially, being a new guy, you feel like you know it all, but you got to know like the back of your hand. So just keep learning the playbook, watching the film, getting to know these guys. And then for me, I'm playing a little bit heavier right now, like 238, 240. So I'm ready for that summer running and conditioning to shed some pounds so I can feel a little bit lighter. So I'm excited for that, but it'll be fun with the guys this summer. And like he said, player-led stuff, which automatically brings the guys closer together.
Offensively, Tech spread the ball around, multiple receivers involved. Back showed bursts in limited space. Execution was consistent, but still developing in timing and spacing. No clear separation yet on several skill positions, but competition remains open heading into summer. Defensively, the group showed a lot of discipline, solid up front, active in the second level, secondary held up in coverage, limited explosive plays, and that's a positive thing coming out of spring. What you want to see in spring, because there's a lot of, you see one group overly perform and you think, okay, but the offense is doing good. Was that just because the defense was bad, and vice versa? What you want to see is a relative break even, because these teams have been playing each other all spring. So they know everybody's tricks. So you want it to be roughly a stalemate with the defense coming up just a little bit on top. And from an execution standpoint, that's really what you saw. And that's absolutely positive coming from the spring. Still room to improve in tackling consistency and finishing drives. Head coach Joe McGuire had this to say on the team's performance.
It's interesting because, again, you've spent 12 to 14 workouts hearing each other's calls and pretty much the checks and everything. So, sometimes the advantage goes to a lot of times the defense, because they're hearing the checks, kind of know what's coming. I mean, I thought it was really good. We got a lot of work done. We got things that we got to clean up. I was proud of the offense. We've done a good job knock on wood, with eliminating pre-snap penalties. Is one thing going through spring. We haven't had a lot of pre-snap penalties on offense. Defensively, on the other hand, we have had some. We have a pick by BJ, and that ball's coming back. I don't think Brennan throws it if he doesn't know he's got a free play, because he kind of forced the ball. But we've had some issues in spring with that, so we got to clean that up, which I know we will.
The takeaway, you had balanced performance. Both sides showed progress, no major breakdowns. I think the defense looked a lot better than maybe we were thinking it would at this time, especially losing guys like David Bailey and Jacob Rodriguez and Romello Height. But execution remains a work in progress, and that's kind of what you expect to see in spring. The structure is in place, though, and the talent is in place. Joey McGuire on where the team stands coming out of spring.
Man, I think we have a chance to have one of the best run games in the country, between the offensive line, Jacoby, Cam, and the three-headed monster. He'll be back June 1st, and with Quentin Joyner. I mean, I just think, with the O-line, the tight ends too, and then with Sorsby being a dual-threat guy, we'll be able to really stress people. And if you can run the football, then you've got a great opportunity to have deep play-action passes, because people are going to have to stack the box, and now you're going to get a lot more one-on-ones with our receivers and our tight ends. And so I'm really excited about that.
Sorsby also addressed leadership and chemistry with the offense.
That just kind of speaks volumes of this offense. Anybody can get the ball at any time. We have so many weapons out there. I know people probably think I'm speaking the quarterback speak right now, where it's all everybody out there is good, but we got a ton of depth and a ton of guys that can step up and make plays. So me trying to find Dante a lot today was just kind of a happening, and he was doing a good job of making some plays for me.
Texas Tech now turns toward summer workouts before fall camp begins in August. Position battles remain open. Depth chart is still forming, but spring is complete and the evaluation part continues. When we come back, we'll talk Texas Tech baseball. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast, presented by Midwest Helmets. Welcome back. Texas Tech baseball dropped all 3 games on the road at Utah before bouncing back with a midweek win over Tarleton via the run roll. And as I record this, it just went final against ACU. Final score 9-1. We'll start with game 1. Tech produced early offense. Countershouse drove in 2 with a double. Logan Hughes added a 2-run home run. Countershouse had 2 RBIs. Logan Hughes, a home run, 2 RBI. The team got 10 hits total, but Utah answered with a 4-run third and added on from there. Pitching allowed consistent traffic. Utah capitalized in the middle innings. Saturday, you were run ruled by Utah. Utah broke it open early. The final score was 12-2 in just 7 innings. Jesse Rosnick was 1 for 2. He had an RBI. Lincoln Garcia had a double. You had limited offense overall, and pitching was just dismal. Pitching allowed a 7-run inning that decided the game. Sunday, another loss at Utah, same pattern. Utah built an early lead and just never gave it back. Logan Hughes did have a solo home run. They limited total hits and scoring chances. So it was a series sweep for Utah, a sweep against the Red Raiders, plus a run rule. Across the weekend, you had multiple big innings that were allowed in all 3 games. Limited offensive consistency after Friday. Production concentrated among just a few hitters. But then you had a good bounce back against Tarleton State in the midweek. Tech responded with a 13-3 run rule win in 7 innings. Offensively, this was a much different look. By the 3rd inning, you had multiple extra base hits and run production. Your key performers were Connor Strauss, who had a 2 RBI double, scored multiple times. Logan Hughes had a 2-run home run. RBI production again in the middle of the order. Tanner Lopez had an RBI single, part of a multi-hit, multi-run inning. Kevin Bazell had multiple runs scored. Lincoln Garcia had an RBI single late to extend the lead, and Tech scored 11-plus runs in the 3rd inning and never let Tarleton back in. So when the bats are alive, Texas Tech is winning games. Problem is, his offense doesn't always travel, as we saw against Utah, especially when you got that real thin mountain air. It's a lot harder for the ball to get out. Cleaner offensive approach, timely hitting, extra base production, pressure throughout the lineup. On the pitching side, you limited damage, you avoided big innings, and you controlled the game from start to finish. Now, the biggest takeaway from that game, though, is we have an injury update. Freshman Jesse Resnick is expected to miss at least a week with a back issue. And hopefully it is just a week. But even still, back issues just linger, and he might not be the same when he comes back. He's got bats a 442. He's got 9 doubles and 28 RBIs. So that's a key middle of the order bat, especially coming off of a weekend where offense was already inconsistent. Your pitching has been inconsistent all season. And the way Texas Tech was winning games was through its offense. You cannot afford to lose a bat like Jesse Resnick for any considerable amount of time. You still have a winning record, by the way. Texas Tech, as we sit right now, is sitting at 22-19. Now you're 6-12 in conference play. And at that point, it might be near impossible to get into the postseason. But there was improvement this year from last year so far. But like we said last week, maybe it's time to have some really uncomfortable conversations regarding this baseball program. So the week overall, you got swept on the road. You gave up too many big innings. You bounced back in the midweek with 2 really good offensive performances and pitching performances. But now you're dealing with another key injury. Texas Tech heads into the stretch needing more consistency on the mound, more depth in offensive production. Evaluation continues. The margin for error just got a little bit smaller, and it was already razor thin. Now the Red Raiders will go to play Oklahoma State tomorrow. And by go, I mean go to Danlaw Field. It will be a home series. That first pitch on Friday will be at 1 p.m., Saturday 1 p.m., and Sunday 1 p.m., trying to get those games in before the George Strait concerts on Friday night and Saturday night. And you can listen to those games on the Texas Tech Sports Network and watch them on ESPN+. When we come back, we'll have the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast presented by Midwest Helmets. Back for one more. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll start with a good.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
Texas Tech Red Raider football handed out its 2025 team awards during halftime of the spring game, highlighting production across the roster. Lee Hunter received the Donnie Anderson Golden Palomino Sportsmanship Award. The J.T. King Award for the most improved went to Cameron Dickey and Sheridan Wilson on offense, and John Curry and Brendan Jordan on defense. Ben Roberts earned the Dare to be Great Award, while Terrence Carter Jr. took home the Clint Ramsey Academic Effort Award. The Pete Cawthorn Memorial Team MVP went to David Bailey and Jacob Rodriguez, and Baron Morton received the Dell Morgan Memorial Courage Award. Skylar Gill Howard was named the E.J. Holub Double Tough Award winner, and I can't think of a more deserving player to get an award named after E.J. Holub. Let's get another good. Jacob Rodriguez has been named the Jason Witten Collegiate Man of the Year Award. In my opinion, that is a better award than the Heisman. You can keep your stupid Heisman. The award is given annually to a Division I FBS player who demonstrates leadership, courage, integrity, and sportsmanship on and off the field. Rodriguez adds the national honor in what has already been a very, very decorated career at Texas Tech. Let's do a bad.
Oh, that's not very nice. Just a donkey.
Freshman standout Jesse Resnick is expected to miss at least 1 week, possibly more, with a back issue. He batted .442, averaged 9 doubles, 28 RBIs, and just an absolute devastating blow to a baseball team that is already struggling with depth issues. And we won't linger on that one long. Let's go to an ugly.
Whoa. This is worthless.
It's less than worthless, my boy.
Zarnell Fitch, a former assistant coach for Texas Tech football, is now facing a lawsuit tied to a January incident at a Lubbock bar that will remain nameless. The suit alleges Fitch assaulted another man during an altercation, which claims he was under the influence of multiple substances at the time. According to the filing, the situation escalated into a physical confrontation that left the plaintiff with injuries requiring medical treatment. Fitch is no longer on staff at Texas Tech. He was released shortly after the time of this incident occurring, unbeknownst to us. The case is now moving through the court system as the plaintiff seeks damages. And my man also tried to hide behind a pole when the cops came in. I don't know if you've ever... I'm going to put up a picture of Zarnell Fitch here. Buddy, come on now. It was a little shocking when it was announced that he was let go and there was no explanation why. Now we have the explanation. But at the time, people in the know were telling me that it wasn't surprising to them. He had some off the field issues beyond just picking fights at bars. But that's all I've got for you. Please, 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 if you're still here, please take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel. I have a new episode of the Flatland Sports Podcast every week. I have a Flatland Sports Daily Minute daily. And we also post a lot of our video content off of Facebook here on YouTube, as well as Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. Give me a follow on all those platforms. One more time, thank you so much to our sponsor, Midwest Helmets. If you're looking for a great custom football helmet, give them a call, give them a DM, and if you mention Flatland Sports in your order, you will get 10% off your custom football helmet. That is the Flatland Sports Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me, and Wreck 'em Tech.